You know that one task, the one you've been avoiding not for a day but for weeks now, maybe even longer. Every morning you wake up thinking about it. Today I'll do it. And you mean it, you genuinely mean it. But then you sit down, and something happens inside you that you can't quite explain. It's not tiredness, it's not distraction. It's something deeper, like a door closing quietly, without any warning at all. And suddenly you just can't. You don't know why, you just can't. So you do what everyone around you has always taught you to do. You call yourself lazy, maybe worthless, maybe broken. And the worst part is, you believe it. But I want you to hear this very carefully. Lazy is the wrong word. It has always been the wrong word. What is actually closing inside you has a name, a real psychological name. And the moment you understand it, everything you thought about yourself changes. Let me take you back to the year 2000. A psychologist named Sheena Iyengar walked into an ordinary supermarket and set up a simple tasting table. 24 different jams, colorful and inviting. Hundreds of people stopped. They looked, they tasted, but almost none of them bought anything. The next day she put out only 6 jams. Fewer people stopped. And you'd expect fewer sales, but the opposite happened. People bought 10 times more, 10 times, from less. Barry Schwartz later studied this and called it the paradox of choice. The idea that more options don't free us, they freeze us. And here is exactly why that matters for your life right now. Think about your morning. You open Netflix. 500 shows waiting. And you spend 40 minutes scrolling before going to sleep having watched nothing. You wake up to 73 notifications and open your phone to reply to one and somehow reply to none. You decide today is the day you start something real, a business, a project, a change. So you Google it, see 10 million results, and quietly close the tab. This is the pattern, every single day. And you call it laziness. But laziness is a choice. What you are experiencing is not a choice. Your brain is doing something far more complicated, far more human than that. And it has a name. Daniel Kahneman won the Nobel Prize for explaining exactly how your brain works. He said the brain runs on 2 systems. System 1 is fast, automatic, instinctive. This is you catching a ball, recognizing a face, driving a familiar road without thinking. System 2 is slow, deliberate, exhausting. This is you writing an important email, making a difficult decision, or trying to choose between 1,000 options. Here is the problem. Modern life, the notifications, the choices, the endless scrolling and comparing, keep System 2 running from the moment you open your eyes. So by the time you finally sit down to do that one important thing, your brain is already out of fuel, completely drained. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. And here is what makes it so devastating. When your brain hits that wall, it doesn't choose badly. It doesn't choose at all. It just stops. That is the freeze. That is the door closing. That is the voice that says, I'll do it tomorrow. And it is not laziness. It is exhaustion. Deep, real, invisible exhaustion that nobody ever told you had a name. But there is something else happening. Something darker that nobody is talking about. Every time you open Instagram, your brain sees someone your age launching a business, traveling, achieving, living. And something inside you whispers, you are behind. You are too late. Everyone else figured it out except you. In 1954, a psychologist named Leon Festinger discovered that human beings are wired to compare themselves to others. He called it social comparison theory. But Festinger was studying neighbors, people in the same room, the same village. He had absolutely no idea that one day we would carry a device in our pocket that shows us the highlight reel of 2 billion people simultaneously every single morning before breakfast. So your brain does exactly what it was built to do. It compares and compares and compares until the gap feels so wide, so impossible to cross, that trying feels completely pointless. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. Your brain doesn't give up because it's weak. It gives up because it has been shown over and over again that the finish line keeps moving, so it stops running altogether. And you call that laziness. But now you know what it actually is. I want to say something to you directly now. Lazy people don't feel pain about not doing things. But you do. Every single night before you sleep, that quiet ache is there. That voice saying, "Today wasn't enough. I should have done more. I'm falling behind." That is not laziness. That is not weakness. That pain is proof that you care deeply. You are not someone who gave up. You are someone whose mind got completely overwhelmed by a world that was never designed for human beings to live in, a world of infinite options, infinite noise, infinite comparison, and zero guidance on how to handle any of it. So stop calling it laziness, because laziness has no solution. But paralysis does. And here is where it gets interesting. Let me tell you something that changed everything for me. 400 years ago, the Japanese developed a philosophy called Shizen. It means naturalness, but not the way we think about it. The Japanese spent centuries watching nature, and they noticed one thing that changed how they live forever. Nature never forces anything. A flower doesn't try to bloom, it just blooms. When the time is right, a river doesn't smash through a rock, it finds the natural path around it. Slowly, quietly, without struggle. And the Japanese said, "Why are human beings any different?" Think about how you try to start things. You make a massive to-do list. You set a huge goal. You tell yourself today is the day. You sit down, and your brain freezes because you are trying to smash through the rock. But a Japanese person doesn't do that. They ask one question instead. What is the most natural thing I can do right now? Not the most productive thing, not the most impressive thing, the most natural thing. Maybe it is opening one document, just one. Maybe it is writing one sentence, just one. Maybe it is sending one message you have been avoiding for 3 days, just one. That is it. That is Shizen. And here is what happens next. And this is the part that will surprise you. Once you take that one natural step, the next step appears by itself. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take the first natural step. The Japanese also have something called Kaizen. It means 1% better every day, not 100% better. Not a complete transformation, just 1%. One tiny natural improvement every single day. Because a brain that feels 1% better never feels threatened. It never freezes. It never shuts down. It just moves. And then there is Ma, the Japanese concept of empty space. They deliberately leave gaps in their day. No phone, no scrolling, no notifications, just stillness. Because they understood something we forgot. The brain needs empty space to find its natural rhythm again. So here is what I want you to do today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Pick the one thing you have been avoiding the longest. Don't think about finishing everything. Don't think about catching up with anyone. Just pick one task. One. Complete it. Not because it will change everything overnight, but because one task completed today is progress. Real progress. More progress than someone who planned 100 things and did nothing. You don't need to climb the whole mountain today. You just need to take one step up. And then tomorrow, one more step. That is Kaizen. That is Shizen. That is how Japan has lived for 400 years. And that is how you start living from today. Step up. Do one thing. That is enough. That is everything. Next time you find yourself frozen, staring at that task, unable to begin, don't fight it. Don't call yourself lazy. Don't open Instagram and compare yourself to someone else's highlight reel. Instead, ask yourself one simple question. What is the most natural, effortless version of this task that I could do right now? Not the perfect version, not the impressive version, the natural one, the Shizen version. Because you were never lazy. You were never broken. You were simply carrying too much in a world that never stops adding more weight. With nobody ever telling you that it was okay to put it down, now you know. And now you can move. If this changed the way you see yourself today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere right now, someone is lying in bed calling themselves lazy, and they deserve to know the truth.